We are live. We are live.
We are live.
We are live for the first episode. Well, 21st episode total, but first episode regular season time. I'm pumped.
We we started this back in right after the World Series, or
It
right
was
like it was the week of the
it was the
World
week of
Series.
World Series, correct?
So this is the first week we're really getting into pretty much our what hopefully is our regular routine here, kind of going through some topics, just talking about what's going on, giving our thoughts. I'm a little pumped. I'm in a much better mood than I was about an hour ago when the Knicks were down 13 in the fourth quarter. It, I've said it multiple times on this podcast how like this time of year is usually when you stop focusing on the Knicks and your basketball teams and start focusing on baseball. But we're still here with the Knicks. I'm repping both, and we're just gonna ride both as long as we can.
Isn't
Yankees obviously didn't get off to a hot start, but we're not gonna hit the panic button yet about the start. There are some things injury wise and kind of management wise that are a little concerning, or things you don't want to see at this point, and kind of some storylines that are just you want gone.
yeah, I mean, we'll get into the opening in a second, but isn't it
Oh
wild to
yeah.
think? Isn't it wild to think that we did this podcast through the entire off season already?
We pushed out some content here, like with
Yeah.
limited information. So
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have a lot to, and now we have stuff to talk about. So, I mean, you guys are gonna
weird.
see we have some new categories we're gonna be pushing out today. It's not necessary that you'll see every category every week, but they are categories that they will be used going forward on the podcast. We may one week bring some new categories in. Keep the same. I mean, we'll be all over the place with it. So, but the
Oh yeah.
opening thoughts. I mean, I guess my opening thoughts from the weekend. Well, winning the weekend because as the Mets didn't get to play in the weekend, which I still don't quite understand. I understand the risk factor, but for the Mets, the Nationals to be able to postpone the weekend series and then play with limited players on Monday, why weren't they forced to play with limited players for the weekend? I mean, like I said, there may be more risk factor of players who are unknown. Um, Unknown meaning like they didn't know what if they were going to end up testing positive. Um, Maybe that's part of it, but I don't understand how they were forced to play shorthanded against Atlanta, but not the Mets.
Yeah, I'm sure this is a situation that's going to come up throughout the year, and it's not the first time. I mean, I would hope it's the first and last time we deal with it. I think starting off the season in a marquee, what was that going to be? That was the 7 o'clock game on ESPN on
They ended up
opening
having
night
no game. They
with
ended up having no game.
DeGrom. It was supposed to be DeGrom versus Scherzer,
Mm.
marquee matchup opening night. Two Cy Young Award winners, multiple Cy Young Award winners going at it, kind of kicking off the baseball season in style, and we got nothing. It's just it obviously a disappointing situation. Um, I don't really even know how there needed to be some. There's no avoiding this, obviously, but I feel like baseball should have had something better in place at that point. It's not like this started mid-season.
Like
Like
I don't
there should have been some sort of protocol where, okay,
correct.
a team, 10 guys on a team test positive and they're playing a game tomorrow. What do we do?
Well,
Like that's the point of in other sports where we see taxi squads and things like that, unless it's like the Devils where it just runs through the whole team.
yeah. I mean, we're over a year into this, and clearly we never. It's not a downplay, but we're a year into a situation where you saw football had no issue with it. I mean, they had to move a couple games back 2 days, but on the scheme of things, they handled it perfectly. You're telling me by now we don't have any type of system in place where you have what a 90-man roster. I know a
The
chunk of them
NBA
are
has handled it
great too.
perfectly.
I mean, I understand you have 90-man
Early
roster.
on, there were some interesting decisions that went on in
I
terms of
just feel
protocol, but
like
overall,
there should be your whole minor league team, your team that's in AAA should basically be quarantined this season. Basically, I mean, family, of course, you can't control that, but there should be some part of your team that's just locked in and ready to go if
Right, a taxi
this
squad, but it
happens.
needs to be bigger than it
And
is.
maybe we should allow teams to have rights to some veteran free agents that can just play on a
Or
whim.
just expand the rosters.
Yeah, I don't get that either. I mean, they were expanded last year, so I don't understand if we're still dealing with the same protocols. Why are we not dealing with it the same way?
Or
When
have it be that everyone on your 40-man can be
used,
basically used at any time.
yeah, that's the thing too. You have these teams who you talk about options and service time. They may say to themselves, "We would rather have this game forfeited than have to call up a guy and waste their service time or options," which is a crazy thing to think about. But there's
Right.
teams that might actually think that way, like the Tigers, like the Pirates, you know?
They probably should have done away with some of the option rules this year too.
Well, yeah, you should be able to move them up. I mean, service time's tough because now you're starting to rob a guy of a
And
free agent.
players run out of options too. That becomes an
Yeah.
issue.
I mean,
Even with like the Yankees early, what was it? Was that Sunday? I forget where they had to have Domingo. Yeah, it was Sunday because Domingo on Sunday. Domingo pitched 3 innings, and then they had Mike King go the rest of the way. He throws 70 plus pitches in 6 innings, and he's a bullpen arm right now. And because they didn't, they're not going to be able to utilize him necessarily in the next few days after that, they sent him down, which means he's gone for, I believe, 10 days.
yeah, I mean, you see
It
that all the
just,
time. You see that all the time where these teams have that one guy that's just the low end of the bullpen, and he just in a bad game he has to wear one. He
it's
has to
not
wear
even,
one.
Mike King's not the low end of the bullpen guy. He's just a
Well, I
young
mean,
arm you want to make sure is not being overextended.
by the way, guys, as we're recording this live,
No,
Joe, the Padres are
no,
playing.
no,
I got it.
no,
I got
no.
it. I got it. The Padres are playing the Texas Rangers. It's a pretty good game. It's 3-0 in the ninth inning. So there's nothing else special about it outside of that.
Nothing.
It's just a
Nothing's
regular
happening.
game on a Friday night that we're watching and we're focused on for no reason. And
I have an interest in the Padres based on my fantasy team. We can get into that a little bit later, maybe,
I
because
honest,
Will
I honestly,
Myers is a stud
I
carrying my
honestly
team
like
right now.
didn't. I didn't think that Joe Musgrove had it in him to go 9 innings. I thought he
I
was
didn't.
like a really good 6 inning. I didn't think he had like that like horse in him. I thought he was a really good like give you 6 innings. I didn't know he can go 9. How many pitches does he have? 109. That's nothing for a complete game
I
potential.
mean, if the Padres have Yu Darvish,
2 outs.
Snell, Lemette.
I mean, they've all pitched pretty poorly, right, for the first outings.
Yes, but it's first outings, and that goes
No, yeah,
into
no, I'm not saying that
making
as a
sure you're
point.
not overreacting.
I think the Padres. We'll talk about it later, I'm sure, after this moment passes. But I'm uh I'm a little worried about the Padres for a couple different reasons. But I'm not overreacting by a bad start, but I'm overreacting maybe or reacting to a couple other things that have happened. But yeah, there's
Struck
nothing.
one
Yeah,
right over the plate. Looks like some off speed. We could like basically call this live.
yeah.
We got a
Oh,
we got a
you're
3-0
you're somehow ahead of me.
3-0 game. We're live on
You're
the
very
MLB
ahead of me.
Network. Are you not watching on the MLB Network?
I'm on the
Or
MLB
are you
network, and
watching
you're
on
still
the
ahead of
app?
me. No,
Ground
I'm on
ball
TV.
to short
You're way
to
ahead of me.
Hopper, and a thing happened. Well, now we can say it.
Yeah, yeah. You don't have to see. Joe
Yeah.
Musgrove has thrown a no hitter.
That's
Wow.
the first no-no in Padres history.
Yep. They were the
Wow.
last team. They were the last team to not have one.
Wow. Wait, the Rays, yeah, they did.
Yeah. The Rays had Edwin Jackson
What?
or Mac. Yeah. No,
I thought there was someone left besides the
let me
Padres.
see. Teams with
Maybe I'm wrong.
Mets were for a while, and then they got
Yeah.
obviously Santana. It's Padres remain the only team.
Wow.
Who was the Rays was definitely Evan Jackson, I think. What are you saying? What are you saying to me?
I want to say Yankees have the most no-nos, but I just feel like that's wrong.
Oh no, the Rays. No, that was the other one I was gonna say. It's Matt Garza.
Oh, right.
Who did Edwin Jackson throw that no where he walked like 9 guys? Was he in Oakland? No,
D-backs?
could be the D-backs. He had a no hitter where he walked like 7 guys. He walked 8 batters. It was what team was he on? He walked 8 batters in a. Oh yeah, Arizona. You're right, Arizona. Um, well, now that Joe Musgrove's done this no hitter, talking about the Padres, we can start that a little bit here before we get into the rest of it. Fernando Tatis out. What looks like they're saying in 10 days they'll
Not pretty.
reevaluate him. I everything I've heard is that they are shocked that he hasn't had surgery or isn't planning on getting surgery, and eventually he's going to have to. I understand they feel like they're in a spot where they can win this year, but the kid is only what 22, maybe younger, 21. So you're looking at a guy who's your future, 22. You're looking at a guy who's your future. You if he needs surgery, you get it done. You're gonna have him for another decade and a half, possibly. Like you have to make the right decision here, and I don't
And this
think.
is why on both sides, obviously it's early on and injuries happen across. I'm sure it won't be the first injury he has across this contract, but this is why on both sides you kind of play the odds game here.
Yeah,
14 years, 340 million. Could have he gotten more AAV? Who knows?
not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
But had he, gone
Oh
out
yeah,
this year
100%.
and gotten injured, then he could be affecting his long-term financial future for a while.
Yeah, so I
I
just
wonder
hope.
what this does though for the Padres rotation.
What are you saying?
Does this change things in terms of how a lot of teams early on in the season right now have been kind of going with longer rotations, going 5-6 man because you're skipping a start here and there. Do you now not skip a Joe Musgrove start? I don't know if that's something they were planning to do.
Well,
Obviously, you don't take
you have.
you,
I
it's
mean,
one game still.
he's the fifth starter though. It's Snell, Darvish, Lamet, Paddock, Musgrove.
Right, Paddock. Yep.
So that he's the fifth anyway, so he wouldn't get skipped.
And then if Clevenger comes back
Oh
next
yeah,
year,
next year. Yeah, but
yeah,
by that time, I think they would have to extend someone's contract up. It might be Musgrove's. I think Musgrove's contract's up. I think he's in a contract here. Or did they just
oh,
no? They
well,
traded for him. They traded for him. I think.
yeah, wasn't he? He was
Pirates.
on.
No,
I believe, yeah.
because he came from Houston, right? He was originally on Houston.
No, I believe he was on the Pirates.
No. He was on the Padres, but Pirates, but he originally was on the Astros. Almost
Potentially.
positive. I think he was on the
But
World
man,
Series.
think of the Pirates' arms that they've let go.
Yep.
Glasnow, Cole. I mean, those
What
two
is
alone.
trying to find his career arch? So he was definitely just on the Houston Astros. He won the World Series with the Astros.
I would have never guessed that.
Yeah, he was like one of the back end guys, but yeah. So I mean, what I'm reading here is Tatis. People are expecting they could miss the season. Some people are saying they'll see in a couple of days. I just hope both parties do what's right by a young superstar and don't get too selfish on either end, and just do what's right for his long term future. Because I would hate to see a guy of his level um, be mismanaged in his second year of his career and get messed up for any period of time. So, because that injury, as simple as it was, it looked terrible. Like as simple it was, you could just tell it was immediately bad.
Other two major injuries that come to mind that happened this week. James Paxton, Tommy, I believe he is on the road to Tommy John,
Yep, expected.
which I feel awful for him. He seems to not be able to shake the injury bug, and he has good stuff and he has the stuff to be a top of the rotation guy. We've seen it before where he's been able to step up in certain spots, but he's never really been able to put together a season's worth of momentum because he's constantly getting injured. And then the one that hits home this one hits home from a fantasy
Oh,
perspective.
oh,
Kettle Marte, he has been like MVP of my fantasy team,
he's out
was
like 10 days.
carrying me. I believe he's going for an MRI at some point. So that
What was it?
could
What was the injury?
he pulled his hamstring, but it didn't
Oh,
look good.
but
He was just running to first and pulled up, and it didn't look like a, just a simple pull. It looked like something tore.
so as we intro the week, intro the season, intro our first regular season episode, Todd came up with some segments, some categories. So
Pitching themed.
pitching
The
themed,
names are
the
pitching
names.
themed. We'll
Yeah,
go
names.
into
Yeah. First category. We should say here is Todd. You want to give it a little intro here?
this is bringing the heat, where we're going to talk about the hottest guys in that sounded weird, but we're going to talk about the hottest players in baseball right now. Who's hot? Who's carrying their teams? And who can we expect it to continue? I
Yeah,
guess I'll start. Should I?
sure.
I
Sure.
think. I mean, you could throw Joe Musgrove in there right now. Now, obviously, he's bringing the heat. Just threw in a no-no.
Yeah, I mean,
Garrett Cole has looked very sharp off the start. First start was a little like he didn't have his best stuff that first start, but he still managed to get through it. Second start was like lights out playoff Cole, where he's just dominating you with every single pitch that he
yeah,
has. Jordan Montgomery was also hot. I know I'm a little Yankee skewed with those first two. I
yeah,
think you're going to say it, but I'm not sure. Shohei Ohtani,
uh-huh.
which we've been waiting for. How long has he been in the
Four
in the
years,
majors now?
3 years.
We've kind of been waiting for him to break out. I was glued to my TV. When was it? Last Sunday night
Sunday night.
when
Yep.
it was that game between the Angels and White Sox. That was a
What did you think about? Now I have my opinion. What did you think about Joe Madden leaving Otani in the game?
I have mixed feelings. I feel like he was at like 85 pitches. I think at that point you got to take him out
See,
just because of what he brings to the table, obviously offensively. And then you saw what happened where there's a play at the plate and he comes up, there's a collision at the plate, and thankfully he wasn't hurt more,
yeah,
but that could have been very bad. And Mike Trout needs some guys on this team that are going to be kind of his running mates here and try and propel
oh,
the Angels
I
to the
think
playoffs.
that's Shohei Otani's bat. That could be his running mate.
And what
But
was it? He had the fastest pitch from a starter, I think, to that point,
yeah,
and he also had the hit with the highest exit velo at that point.
yeah, no,
All in one night, he touched like 100.5 on the gun, and then exit velo of like 115. Is that
sorry,
Castellanos or is this just a
no,
replay?
no, I think that's Tyler Naquin again. Yeah,
Speaking of bringing the heat,
Tyler. Yeah, speaking of bringing the heat, that's his sixth home run of the year already. He leads the league. Tyler Naquin. I was just looking at him. He's 5 home runs, 14 RBIs already. Make that 6 home runs, 15 RBIs.
that's a bomb.
That's a
Oh,
bomb.
this
Yeah.
is Winker
No,
2
this
for
is
2.
live. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
okay.
a snack. Oh wait. Oh, it just happened. Okay, so maybe he still has 5. Maybe it updated. Maybe that's his 5th. But still, I mean, yeah, if that's his 5th, that's his 5th. But still, he leads the
Another
league.
guy bringing the heat. Big fantasy pickup for me. Talk about coming out of nowhere. Yerman Mercedes.
Mm,
What
been a
a
monster.
house. What a
Yeah,
tank. Like,
yeah.
just your prototype home run basher. Like,
Well,
he
so
absolutely creams the ball every time he hits it. I think at one point he was batting like, well, he started out like, what was it, 8 for 8, 9 for 9,
well, he's batting like I have it right here. I
like
think he's batting
650
600.
or something. Yeah.
Yeah, he's batting like 600 or something like that. But before we run too far away from it, the Shohei part, I thought Joe Madden keeping him in um, was a way to build a guy up early in the season. You want to see what this guy can do when it matters.
I
So
like having confidence in your guy.
yeah, give him the confidence because maybe it doesn't show in the first game, but it might in game 2 and 3 when he realizes he's not going to get pulled if he gets in danger. So Joe Madden keeps his guy in. Does it benefit? Does it pay off? No, but then they end up winning the game. Anyway, when they're somehow their bullpen that's always been bad kept them in that game. Um, but
You're also
staying,
going to need his arm. Like,
yeah,
as much as you need his bat, you need his arm for
yeah,
the Angels.
they need definitely.
He might be equally as important on both sides of the ball.
I mean, another guy who I know you're going to say how you feel about it, but is coming out hot on a team that really hasn't came out that hot is Tyler Glasnow for Tampa Bay. I mean, he's had obviously hasn't had the depth of innings where he's won 6, 7 innings in a start. I think it's 5 innings.
Well, Kevin Cash is crunching numbers in the bullpen or in the
I mean,
dugout
Tyler,
and going, "Oh, it's 403 on a Sunday and the temperature is 63 degrees, and that tells me that in this spreadsheet that Tyler Glasnow is going to run out of gas in 3 minutes, and I need to take him out now." So
I mean, the Rays just smoked the Yankees.
yeah, we're not going to overreact to the Yankees. Yankees, they
Hold on,
always get off. Yeah, let's
hold on.
hold off.
Let's get back to bringing the heat.
Let's yeah, we're not talking about cold. We're talking about hot.
Tyler Glasnow came out pretty hot, so we'll keep that. We'll get
Big
back to it.
sexy.
Sure.
Tyler Glasnow.
I have it written
I know
down.
Jared Carabas, who's obviously listening, or Carabas, obviously listening to this. Big Tyler Glasnow fan. We gave him a shout out here. So
And then my final bring in the heat is a team, and I'm going to give it to the Cincinnati Reds, a team that lost a big player in their team. Think what you want about him. You you lost the Cy Young winner, whatever way you want to spin it, and they're still, I believe, 6-1, and they're winning right now. They've
they're
came
a
out
team
really
that
hot.
always starts out hot too.
I do have some stuff to say
Not
about the little
always.
skirmish with St. Louis. No, I mean, they're going to be a good team. They seem to always get in fights, which I kind of like, especially when um, after
Yeah,
what
why
happened
not?
the other night. I mean, I have a way to get into the whole fight later on in one of the categories. I already have it written down. So, but yeah, that's really good I got for the Heat. You said Yerman Mercedes. We touched briefly on Nick
Oh, yeah.
Castellanos. Nick Castellanos has been an absolute tank.
I think
I
he
mentioned,
leads the league in WAR.
I mentioned this the other day at one of the guys at work, and they kind of like shook me off, but I kind of stand by it. Nick Castellanos' surge. I'm not saying it reminds me of the player that it ends up being, but it reminds me of watching Miguel Cabrera take that leap. Now,
Okay.
I'm not
No.
I'm not saying he's going to turn into a 3,000 hitter and he's Miguel Cabrera, but the way he swings, the way his power numbers have went up, he just reminds me of taking that next leap. I don't know. That's how I felt.
Just put that on the cold takes that Nick thinks
That's a hot take.
Nick Castellanos is the next Miguel Cabrera. Isn't he like 30 anyway? He's been
But
like a
I
journeyman.
didn't say he's the next Miguel Cabrera. I said
How old,
the
how
leap
old
that
is
he took
Nick
from
Castellanos?
the leap that he took from really good to, I mean, good to really good reminds me of it. But go off, King.
No.
All right, so fuck
Okay.
Nick Castellanos.
Over under. How many home runs do we think Nick Castellanos hits this year?
What are you setting it at?
I'll set it at 22 and a half.
Over. Are you out of your mind? Have you lost your marbles? Hold on. Because now dude, he hit.
Let's see.
Are you out of your mind, Todd? Have you looked at his stats?
The most homers he's hit in a season is 27.
Yeah, and okay, I'm upset because I think that is a blasphemous statement.
He doesn't even usually play 100. The last time he played anywhere close to 100,
he played almost a full season last year, 60 of 62 games.
Right. What am I saying? Okay, never mind.
So he hit 14 home runs in half a season last year, less than half a season.
Okay. Like I've said for stats last season,
Nick,
like I've said for stats last season, take them with a grain of salt, all of them.
Nick,
good, bad, or otherwise.
If you're listening,
sure, Nick Castellanos, friend of the podcast, come through.
I don't speak for Todd. You will hit over 22 home runs. That is a blasphemous number. He already has 4. I mean,
put it on the board.
Put it on the board. 22 and a half. Give me the over.
Under. I kind of pulled that number out of nowhere, though. I did not look up his stats. I just figured like he's a third baseman, kind of middle or corner infielder, journeyman.
I wonder if they have player props like that.
Probably not at that line.
Probably not. But yeah, I mean, those are the kind of guys that started hot. You touched on Yerman. I talked about Nick Castellanos. And while we're there, let's go to the opposite of starting hot. Who's been caught looking? Who's started terribly? And I'll start it up here.
Oh, I have a big one. But go.
Starts for me. Obviously, a team we didn't have a lot of hope for, but the Arizona Diamondbacks and Madison Bumgarner. Madison Bumgarner has been awful. I mean, his numbers right now. He's 2 starts. I had the numbers pulled up before. 2 starts. He has an 11 ERA. He's only pitched 9 innings, 15 hits in 9 innings, 11 runs in 9 innings, and he's walked 5. He has been putrid.
He's what, 32? I want to say.
But the way
he has some miles on him. He's pitched hard and heavy for 10 plus seasons at this point.
So has Max Scherzer. So has Clayton Kershaw. We haven't seen them give up 11 runs in 2 games. You could say what you want about Kershaw, where he's gotten hurt and he's missed games. That's it. I think that is a different discussion than a guy who's not getting hurt and going out there and getting the shit kicked out of him. There's a different discussion there. Max Scherzer's body of work is just as big as Madison Bumgarner. Maybe a little less because of the playoff runs. But Bumgarner is a guy, when they signed him, you were looking at him as a guy that, okay, he's aging, but he's a horse. He'll go out there, he may give up 3 runs a game, but he's going to finish that game for you. And he has not been that. I mean, it's like he's just lost it. He went from a guy that you can get away with giving up 3 runs a game to now he's given up 5 runs in 4 innings. You can't.
I mean, for all of this with who we're thinking is hot or cold, it's very early days. So who's to say? Nice, you kind of showing the Lindor shirt a little bit. Very, very nice.
Shout out Barstool.
Very nice. Very nice. Frankie Lindor. But
Frankie Lindor, future.
I mean, it's early days. We'll see.
Yeah,
what it's not early days for, and what I'm already goddamn tired of, is the Yankees and their injury excuses. The coldest of the cold are whoever is responsible for keeping the Yankees healthy. Every and whoever's job it is to set however Aaron Boone is supposed to communicate with the media, because I
But
want to hear honesty. I want to hear either like when they took Gio out of the lineup today. At first, everyone's like, "Oh boy, oh what's going on?" It's just side effects from a COVID shot. He'll be fine. We know that. That's okay. I
I,
believe that. Obviously, the Judge thing, they're not telling us, which we heard towards the end of spring training that, oh, he had like allergies and was fighting something, which obviously was a lie. He was Something was going on. I don't know what could possibly be going on, unless somehow like he has COVID or had COVID, and somehow the Yankees are trying to hide that, which obviously is not what's going on, because they would be in huge trouble if that was the case.
I
So
mean,
I don't really know what to think anymore. There was a point during one game where Aaron Judge had one of those massage guns kind of like to his thigh area, almost by his butt. And he kind of like pulled it back when he saw the cameras were there. Like he didn't want anyone seeing him doing that, which either tell us that you're not sure what the injury is and you don't know if you should be concerned yet, but you're going to find out sooner than ASAP, obviously, or that he's just having, I don't know, that he has an injury, a slight injury, but they're trying to push through it. And that's been part of their like training regimen, trying to get guys who have minor nicks and bangs that come through a season, because you're a professional athlete and not everything's going to be 100% all the time. Like we saw with Luke Voigt last year when he was dealing with his foot stuff,
yeah.
that he made it pretty clear what was going on, that he was having an issue with his foot, and you could see it when he was running around the bases, but he played through it. I'm not saying like bravo to him. I'm not saying that we should like give him a round of applause for playing through it. It's obviously his choice and up to his pain tolerance, and with input from professionals, but give us something on the Aaron Judge front, because people are going to be talking, as they are, about, is Aaron Judge made of glass?
He is a fragile bag of milk. I mean, he is just an injury waiting to
I
happen.
hope I feel stupid next week that like this is nothing, but I expect next week for him to be on the 10-day IL. And I don't get, I'm sorry, you should be able to play in Tampa on turf. I don't
Yeah,
want to hear that excuse. I don't. I'm
yeah, and
sorry.
yeah, I
I get it's early days too. Also, Giancarlo Stanton can't play 5 days in a row as a DH. He can't play 5 days in a row.
I mean, I think that's a case of precaution rather than actually physically can't
He's
because
DH full time. He's
they
never
just
going to
know,
play the outfield this year.
but
It's not going to happen.
they know one wrong step of the foot and Stan could be out for a week too.
But you need him in the lineup.
So I don't know. I think the Yankees right now are facing a point where they're realizing, yeah, we're a good team, but we're
Gleyber's
also very,
defense cold.
very fragile. A very fragile team in all sense of the word. We talk about the the key players in your team, Judge, Stanton. I mean, that's your
Gleyber, DJ. I mean, we have no shortage of talent. You could take away Judge and Stanton, and we'd
but
still be the best team in the AL East.
I think every level of high talent on your team, there is a cause for concern with almost every player except for DJ and Cole, where Judge Stan injury, Torres is gone,
Defense.
defense, Sanchez defense. So every
Geo,
player,
there's no concern really.
Well, his
He does
bat.
his
I mean,
job.
his bat's okay.
He does his. He's not. We're not looking for him to be a middle of the lineup slugger.
But let's just
I
say,
would like to see Clint step up here. I really
yeah,
would like that.
Frazier's Frazier's not
He's a little cold,
a little bit.
and Aaron Hicks obviously very cold.
He's been caught looking. Another, not to jump off the
Keston
Yankees,
Hiura very cold.
another cold team. Um, the uh, 1-7,
Bays.
1-7. All right, you know what? Let's do this. Since we, oh, you say the A's? You say the A's? Yeah, I was gonna have you guess who I was talking about. Yes, the A's. I mean, they've looked pretty bad. I mean, 1-7. They
What's their
have.
team ERA right now? It's got to be close to 9, right?
I mean, they've given up 59 runs in 8 games, and they've only scored 19.
59 runs in 8 games.
That's almost 8 runs a game.
Yeah.
Yuck. That's not almost 8. That's like
7 and a quarter.
it's 7.2 probably.
Yeah.
That's a lot of runs on a team that's built by pitching well and playing low, playing close games, and wanting to get their games to the bullpen. I think the Athletics we talked about in the preview. I think they have a chance to actually be really bad this year because
They could fall behind pretty quickly, especially if the Astros are off to a hot start. Angels look like they're figuring some things out.
Because I mean, my thing is, what on that Athletics team? Where is there a piece that you're thinking this is going to jumpstart us? Their rotation's young and not really full of any guys who have been there before, besides Sean Manaea. Their
He
bullpen
got
is
hit around.
Yeah, and they don't have much
Obviously,
of a bullpen
all of their
anymore.
pitchers got hit around.
And they lost 3 of their key relievers.
Obviously,
They
Hendricks.
have what?
Obviously, Hendricks.
Oh yeah, Hendricks. I mean, they lost Joakim Soria as well. You have Matt Chapman, but as good as Matt Chapman is, he hasn't shown that his bat can carry a team yet. His hitting has not. I mean, his hitting's fine. He's just
You
glove is
replaced Marcus Semien with Elvis Andrews.
well, yeah. I mean, I feel like they had this, but it's not the Athletics' fault. It is, but it isn't. Like this is
it
there's.
is.
I mean, it is, but I think it isn't because we know what they are. We know what their payroll is. So this is how they operate. Now, this year, it didn't operate the right way. I mean, I don't think but maybe deep down they knew, listen, we had this 5-year run. Maybe we take a year off and kind of figure something out. Maybe they knew this team wasn't that good. We don't know. I mean, there was talk in the offseason about trading Matt Chapman. So where there's smoke, there's fire. They may have known, you don't let a guy like Marcus Semien walk, I would think, if you plan on winning.
What did he sign for? Doesn't he 1 year, 18 mil or something like that?
It can't be much more.
A's are not paying a guy 18 mil. That's not happening.
Well, they're paying Elvis Andrus like 15.
No.
I mean, yes, Elvis Andrus is getting paid like $15 million. I mean, yes, they were able to work it where they got rid of Chris Davis's contract in the meantime. But yeah, Elvis Andrus is getting paid $15 million. He signed an 8-year, $120 million. He's got
crap.
Yeah, yearly cash.
Who signed? Holy shit! 8 years.
Still got more years too.
Oh my god! What the hell is that?
Yeah, he had a big contract. He was. I mean, there was a year or two where the Mets were really interested in him when he was in his prime.
Holy.
And there was talks about trading like Syndergaard for him. I mean, let's not downplay the career Elvis Andrus has had. He's been a pretty good player. I mean, he at one point had one of the best gloves in baseball. When he was in Texas that year. I mean, that was a good Texas team. When they were the World Series years, he was, I mean, an elite shortstop. But yeah,
best year it appears 2017. He hit 20 homers, 88 RBIs. Otherwise,
that's pretty good for a shortstop.
but otherwise nothing even close to that
We're
on here.
we're comparing shortstop numbers to a different era in shortstops, right? We're talking about guys now that can Francisco Lindor, Javier Baez, Fernando Tatis, Trevor Story. We are
What do you
Carlos
mean?
Correa.
We used
But
to have Derek Jeter,
okay, hold
Nomar.
on, hold on, pause,
Um,
pause. You have the era of Jeter, Nomar, any of those guys, A Rod, Hanley, whoever you want to consider in that pile of
Hanley, wow.
between that period and the period we're in now, shortstops was a pretty dead period. You had some of the best shortstops in National League Baseball were either amazing gloves or a really good power bat and no glove. You're talking about Johnny Peralta. Johnny
Orlando
Peralta, he
Cabrera,
was an all star. He was an all
Juan
star.
Uribe.
Juan Uri, but these are the guys that it was a different era in shortstops. That maybe it's coming back to what we saw at some time, but
Obviously, Jose.
but I mean, you mentioned Derek Jeter. Of course, Derek Jeter is probably maybe the best shortstop of all time, but he wasn't hitting 35 home runs a year like the guys are
No,
going to do now. That's my
no.
point. I mean, we're at a level now where the shortstop might be the most talented position on the field.
But I'm looking at Elvis Andrews' numbers, and he's hitting 6 homers and 40 RBIs a year.
Oh, well, now Elvis Andrus is not my argument. My argument is Elvis Andrus of 2017 was prime for a shortstop at that time.
His OPS plus was over 100 only 2 years. This year, he is batting 071. His OPS plus is minus 40.
Well, yeah, that's not arguable. He stinks now. That's not what I'm arguing. I'm arguing his
Elvis
career.
Andrews, bad. No, I'm not going to knock anybody, obviously, for making the majors and having a professional
He's a friend of the
baseball
pod.
career. Sure, Elvis Andrews, come through. We'll chat. We'll chat it up. But I don't think he has had the greatest career.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, we'll have to table this for when we see Bob. Third category here, that was nasty. This is basically. I mean, you can explain this category a little more.
Yeah, isn't this one? This one's like for things that
What?
are good, obviously, right?
Well, this was the fun moment of the week, or the best moment of the week.
Right. Okay.
I
My
have
favorite thing that happened this week, I think, and we talked about this before the show. Miggy hitting that homer in the snow and
that's
then
fun.
not knowing that the ball went out of the park and doing like a full-on slide into
Yep.
second was awesome. Like
Yeah.
I love Miggy. I think he's one of the most underappreciated players potentially in the history of baseball. Obviously, he had some years where he was the face basically of baseball. He had a couple triple crown years, so it's not like he's been completely underrated, but I think in this era of he came into his prime in existence, not existence, his prime kind of right before social media was taking off to the level it's at now, where like people weren't posting on Twitter. Twitter was around, but people weren't posting Miggy bomb highlights on Twitter. It was more like you watched baseball tonight and were like, he hit that one to Souvenir City and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
I enjoyed that quite a bit. What else did I enjoy this week?
Well, my favorite
Obviously,
moment.
just the opening day. I enjoyed
Yeah,
that.
that's easy enough to say there. But my moment, I was trying to think for the show, and finally one hit me, and I was happy with it. Mancini playing his first game in front of
Oh yeah,
Baltimore. After dealing with cancer, I forget what cancer it was, but um, he's recovering. He's back on the field, getting a big ovation from the fans. Was a pretty cool moment. So, not to bring the show down, but it was a hell of a moment. So, um, yeah,
also throw another moment I liked was seeing Jameson Tyone kind of come back a little bit. I enjoyed seeing that. He had some good stuff. I know him
I,
and Garrett Cole are buddies, and He seems
I
like a really just stand-up nice guy, and I'd like to see him succeed in
I
pinstripes.
didn't get to touch on it enough, and of course, I would like to see him succeed. I like anyone in the major leagues to succeed. There's no one that I hate.
Well, no, and I'll get into that. Actually, I'll save that for
I mean,
the next segment.
regardless, there was all this fanfare behind how good Tyon looked. I mean, I didn't think he looked that good. I mean, he gave up 2 home runs, didn't get through.
One was a mistake pitch.
He couldn't finish
He
the fourth
talked
inning.
about it after the game. Well, they're being careful with him. Obviously, he
Well,
has
you still shouldn't throw 80 pitches in 4 innings.
no, but you're not going to throw 80. You're not going to let him throw 80 pitches,
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
more than 80 pitches. He
Yeah,
said the home run that was kind of like a gimme homer. He said that was his fourth pitch. He said he never should have thrown that pitch, and it was just a mistake decision
I
on
mean,
his part.
he gave that homer up to a guy. If I'm talking about the same home run, to a guy that the night before was drag bunting because he can't hit and he has all the speed. Cedric Mullins.
Well,
Cedric Mullins hit a tank for a 5'9" guy. He hit that ball like a tank off the bat. The other one I think was who hit the other one? It was uh I, Anthony Santander. Yeah, Santander. That guy's weirdly good. It's just like he's not good, but he's good. Like he's just I don't know. I always see him getting hits. I always see him getting extra base hits. He just seems to always be a thorn in whoever he plays. But maybe that's just when I watch him. Um, but yeah, that I mean, Mancini was a great moment. Obviously, Mickey was fun, but then, like you said, opening day is the best moment.
Santander, I think someone dropped him in our fantasy league. There have been some, I'm just going to throw that out there here. There have been some weird drops that have happened in our fantasy league. Someone dropped Teoscar Hernandez, who's currently on, I believe, on the COVID list for contact tracing. I don't believe he has COVID, but they dropped him, which
Instead of putting him on the IR, maybe they don't know there's an IR spot.
I put in a waiver. I put in a waiver claim.
That's it's your fault if you don't say it. Well, let's get to that. I feel like there's some talking here. The next category is balk. Something we hated that happened this week. I have two. I'll start with one, and then if you want to jump into one, then I'll come back to mine. But
Yeah, go for it.
the one that I hated for sure, I hated the. I didn't hate the altercation between the Reds and the Cardinals, um, but I hated that the Cardinals reacted that way. I felt like it was forced and it was fake. I
Yeah,
felt
they were a little in their feelings, a little
like
too much.
the guy gets hit with a pitch, or almost, yeah, he got hit with a pitch. Then he scores and he gets all excited about it and he stands over. Okay, he stands over you. I get it. It's annoying. But then for the Cardinals, Yadier to do his Yadier thing where he gets all hyped about nothing. And then, Nolan Arenado, I don't know if he's trying to show off to his new team, but running in he has to point at Castellanos. Like, come on, man. Come on. It's not like Castellanos like what like I can think
We
of
need
so
some
many
fire
other
in baseball. Okay,
that's why I
Cardinals
don't
and
hate it.
Reds being, if they want to get fiery, I'm
But
okay with it.
that's the only
Let's get
reason
some
why I don't
spikes.
hate it. But it really felt so forced to me. It felt so what we're react like normally when I see a baseball fight when someone does a major bat flip or gets one into the temple and then there's a brawl, that's a whole different story. I mean that's part of the fire. But in that moment I was like it was the first time I see a fight where I'm like I don't see anything that would have should have caused this, especially in the first series of the season. Like I just felt super forced. I felt like Nolan Arenado was like in a movie trying to play up a role. Yadier does that thing where he's just like I love Yadier, but every now and
What
then
did
like
Castellanos say? That I think he said Yachty could punch him in the face or something, and he would still ask
yeah,
for his autograph. There's respect there. It's just when you're in the heat of the moment and
it's
there's competition,
yeah,
you get fired up.
and
Let it happen.
especially because but my thing is like Castellanos wears one and then comes around and scores by sliding into the pitcher that just hit him. Of course I'm going to be fired up. Of course I'm going to fist pump in your face. You know what? I just scored on you. Let me go to the dugout. Like I don't know. I don't know. I felt I didn't really like uh, the reasoning behind the altercation. Of course, I like the altercation because I think that's fun for baseball. But
And he got suspended for.
yeah, that was another thing. And
Why are
not
we
only part of
suspending players for getting fired up? I don't understand.
yeah, he didn't even fight. He walked to the dugout. like,
Why are
I don't know.
talk
Oh,
about things I don't like?
real quick.
Rob Manfred right now.
Sorry,
No,
you get
go,
your
go.
part.
No,
No, because
go.
it just hit me. Something we didn't talk about. Trevor Bauer and the ball stuff.
That fits this.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know enough about it yet, so let's
I
not.
don't like the Trevor Bauer's cheating. I don't
I
like
mean,
it, and that
I
fits this
think the real
segment.
story is
I don't like it.
I don't love Trevor Bauer anymore, but I will say I think this is a bigger problem in baseball that they're pinning on Trevor, and that's fine. He's the loudest outspoken guy, so he's going to take the brunt of it.
He
But I do
declined
think
to comment when someone asked him something about it. So
he's a douche. Yeah.
he could have said something, and then he said something. Of course, instead of making a comment to the media, he posts something on Twitter insulting a bunch of people. So
Yeah, and
keep
also
doing your thing.
instead of taking credit or not taking credit, but talking about what's going on like he was starting to, he just goes and he gives some sort of compliment to his agent Rachel Luba, who um, me and Rachel are really good friends. We talk a lot on Twitter, mostly one sided because she has me blocked. Um, but yeah, because she has one client and she's very self conscious about that one. I should say one client that has a major league contract. She has a couple that can't get signed because she's a terrible agent, but that's not really the point.
God.
And I hate it because like I really wanted to like her as an agent, um, because I just felt like it was a good situation. She was for the players, but I feel like she's just on a different level. She's so just it's like I think she tries so hard to not be that agent we've seen in the past, whether it's Rosenhaus, whether it's whoever, that she tries so hard to be the opposite. And it's like you don't have to do all of that. And then she has one client that got her a major contract. And she's like, well, all these other I'm sorry, I'm going on a rant, but she's like, all these other agencies, they take 15% and I just take a cut, as a from the beginning as a salary or something along those lines. She does something different where um, she doesn't get paid for his contract. She gets paid like a salary, which I just think that's bad business on her part. You would have made so much more money if you took part of his fucking $300 million, $400 million, $40 million a year contract. Like I'm sorry, I don't carry on. We can go back on Rob Manfred because it kind of blends him.
What else don't I like? I don't like the extra inning rule. I don't like it. I don't
Does
just
anybody
don't
actually
like
like
it.
it? Does
I
anybody actually
hate
like
it.
it? I
It
feel like
doesn't necessarily accomplish what they're trying to accomplish. They're trying
but
to shorten games, but what keeps happening or what could end up happening is runner starts on second, there are no outs.
yeah.
Drag a bunt, one out, man on third. Boom, sac fly to the outfield. Runner scores. Rinse, repeat every half inning. And then you just do that for the next 5, 10 innings. What they should be doing is keep the standard good old fashioned baseball that we've all loved and gotten to know over the past 150 years. Keep it the way it is. If it becomes an issue after the 12th inning, put a runner on. I wish I could credit who it was. Someone came up with, they said after the 12th inning, put a guy on first.
Oh,
And
I
then
don't.
I think after the like 13th or 14th, then put a guy on second. So I kind of like that with like the progression there. I think that makes sense. But to
Yeah.
just from the start, from the 10th inning, I'm not saying because the Yankees lost that game, they deserve to lose that game. They didn't score any runs. Well, they scored 2 runs, but like they didn't score for a while. And they're scoring with runners, batting in runners in scoring position has been an issue for a while for the Yankees. So I'm not blaming that loss on the extra innings rule, but I think the Yankees pitchers hadn't given up a run in like 5 or 6 innings either. And then all of a sudden we're doing this bunt, and then Glaber makes a bad throw, which, yeah, obviously that caused us to lose the game, and that's a fair way to lose a game. It's not the first time that a team has lost a game because someone made a throwing error, but just the way that whole situation went down, it didn't feel right. And I know situations like that are going to continue. Big yawn, you're tired of my rant.
No,
I
I'm
know
tired of the
situations
world.
like that are going to continue to show themselves through this year. So I'm over it. I'm done. I do not
Yeah,
like it.
I just feel like there has to be some managers or players that like it because it wouldn't even get pat like it doesn't benefit the owners is my point. Like I've seen rules get passed whether the players like it or not because it benefits the owners, clearly. But this doesn't benefit the owners, so I don't know why they would just force it through. Somebody has to like it on the coach or player level. Somewhere.
It could even have to, I don't know if it's a TV thing where like certain stations they don't want to have 5 hours worth of baseball content on
Well,
their,
I mean,
screen.
I'm not really interested in 20 innings of baseball in May or April, but
No,
I understand the thought process of just wanting baseball as it is. I mean, I, as much as I don't want it in May, I don't have to watch it. I will
right.
watch it when it matters. I just don't. I don't have to watch 20
I
innings.
get from an
I would.
injury concern standpoint, you don't
Yeah.
want to have guys playing on a, if it's a day night or a night day situation where you have a 7 o'clock game and then the next day you have a 1 o'clock game. Obviously, you don't want to deal with that where you're playing into the wee hours of the morning and then have to turn around and play a game in 12 hours. But I think there was a better solution here.
Speaking of extra innings, and this memory just came back to me, and then I'll get into my last
Excuse me.
balk of the week. Yeah, no, you're on it. The balk of the week I'll get into after, but I think the worst extra inning moment that I sat through, and it was like I don't think it can get more painful than this. It was game 6 or game 5 of the Mets Royals World Series when the Mets were that was it.
Oh, boy.
Game 5 was elimination. And they went to I think 11 innings. And it was after the error by Duda, the throwaway at the plate. And it just kind of went 11 innings, both bullpens. And it was one of those things where I knew in my heart of hearts we were going to lose that game. And I knew the series was over. So I was going to have to stay up on a day where I think I had to work the next day. It was like 1 a.m. I was staying up to watch the Mets lose a World Series. Probably one of the most painful moments, knowing they were going to lose the World Series. Just sitting there waiting for it. It was, I could remember the pain and not wanting to go to sleep. For some reason, I had to stay up and see
Yeah,
this
you gotta
moment.
sit there and take your losses. That's
I remember,
part of baseball.
yeah, and that was terrible.
That's how
But
it goes.
back to my balk. Speaking of the Mets, balk. Michael Conforto, the situation. I'm going to try to speak
Oh,
about it from different angles here. First angle for me, of course, as a Met fan, I'm not going to sit here and deny that I'm happy about the result. Of course, we won the game. It'd be stupid to say you weren't as a Met fan, but also it's stupid to think that this was some sort of like, um, scandal and it was the Mets were cheating. Like anyone who's going that crazy should
the
have also
ump
go jump off a
the
cliff.
ump had it within his discretion to call it as a strike
Well, he was
or
calling it a
call
strike. He was
Conforto
calling it
call
a strike.
Conforto out.
Yeah, that's the one thing I never understood. And first of all,
If he was about to, because you see his motion,
he
he's
was calling
about
a
to
strike.
ring, he was
Yep,
about to ring him up, and
yep,
then he realizes it grazed him, and he goes
and it confused him.
point. He's
He,
like mid one of these,
yep,
and he like recoils from
he was
this
completely
and
thrown off.
point,
Yep,
starts
and
to point.
the other part of it is, I think,
So if you're gonna call a strike,
just call.
yeah,
And I mean, I had another part, but it's just it's a tough look. I mean, he's gonna call the strike. Clearly, oh, that was what I was gonna say. When you talk about the fact if you were gonna call it a strike, how do you switch that? And yes, he got hit by the pitch, but you were just about to call it a strike. So where in his brain, maybe in the moment, we don't know how it goes, but where in your brain, but then you have the meeting with the other umpires. Now, at that point, you can switch
Why
the
wasn't?
call.
I don't know how the rule
You can switch the
works.
call. You can switch the call. If you confer and you can switch the call for sure. Um, at that point, you'd think something would trigger, be like, wait, during that conversation, all of a sudden, okay, I was about to call a strike, and one of the umps would be like, yeah, then it's illegal. You know what I mean? And major props to the Mets announcers, which a lot of announced teams wouldn't do this, but the Mets announced team right away was like, this is bad. This is not good. This is not how it should go. And a lot of announced teams would not. I think the
No,
Yankees would. I think
I
Michael
think
Kay would.
Michael K
Yeah.
would,
Um, I also
but
think we live in a area of sports broadcasters that the best of the best in maybe the world.
oh
So
yeah,
we're speaking from a different level. But I think if that's the Kansas
we're
City Royals,
spoiled.
I think if the Kansas City Royals, they're excited and they're
The
jumping
great
around.
Clyde Frazier, Michael K,
I think
David Cohn,
yeah. I mean,
Ian
also
Eagle, Bob Wischusen.
yeah,
The list goes on.
Sarah
Ken
Kustok,
Singleton,
Steve
Sarah
Cangelosi.
Kustok, Steve Cangelosi, Erica Wachter,
I don't know who Erica Wachter is.
the ring or not ring, God,
The
the
ring,
the
the one
sideline
that. Oh,
reporter
okay. I thought that was. I thought that was.
for the Devils.
I thought that was Brian Salvador.
Well, she's also like I don't know. They're all
Oh, there's too many
commentary.
people.
Bryce
There's too many people.
Bryce Salvador,
Bryce. Yeah, I said Brian. Bryce. Yeah.
Ken
Um,
Danico.
but another quick note before we jump too far off it. The Mets.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. But that whole situation, even if that is called strike three, it's still bases loaded. In a tie game with 2 outs, it's not. There's no. That's why they were. Even
Wasn't
though they
that out three? That was going to be third
out
out.
too.
I thought.
That was out
Oh,
too. So that's why also the Marlins. I think they played it under protest, but the league wouldn't do anything about it because it wouldn't have. It didn't mean the result of the game definitively. There still would have been one more factor that would have went into the result. Um, so tough luck for the Marlins. It sucks. I like seeing Don Mattingly struggle. I don't like him as a manager. As a player, I had no issue. In hindsight, I don't. He was a great player, but as a manager, he just kind of irks me. As a Marlins manager, he always seems to be arguing and talking. Just he's a lot. But yeah, that's the ball category. We have left here. Oh, so we have to do the weekend cards. I don't really have a card per se, but I will go over some of the matchups. We'll talk
yeah,
about
I'm looking at some of tomorrow's matchups.
Marlins Mets.
Obviously, yeah, DeGrom versus Tyler
DeGrom.
Rogers.
DeGrom is a
DeGrom,
heavy favorite. I
I
mean
would take -1.5 and whatever the under is in
that
that game and
that
do
line
that as a
might
parlay.
that line might be the heaviest money line I've seen yet at -315. That's a
I've
heavy.
I have -290 on FanDuel.
Okay, I have it on whatever I think DraftKings. Yeah, DraftKings is showing -315, but still, that's a heavy line. Um, Yankees Rays. They'll be
I
facing
would take the Rays.
Archer Herman. Archer looked
Yeah,
bad in the first outing.
so did
Um,
Herman.
Mariners Twins. No one cares.
And
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
I
sorry.
think that I think I think the Yankees are gonna tailspin a bit here. I
Royals
wouldn't
White
be
Sox.
surprised to see a 3-6 start, something like that. Royals White Sox, that's an
Could be a fun
interesting game.
series. Yeah. Brewers
I
Cardinals is always fun. Athletics Astros doesn't mean as much because Athletics stink. Um, Rockies Giants is pretty shoddy. Tigers Indians is shoddy. There's a couple really shoddy series.
yeah, this isn't a great week for series. I'm
Cubs
interested to see how
Pirates.
Zach Davies pitches.
Phillies Braves
That's
good. Ooh, that's a good
Sox Orioles again.
again. I mean,
Yeah, they played 3. to start the season.
Oh yeah, well I think the Mets play the Phillies again next week, so it's all divisional early. Um, Nationals Dodgers is a fun series. We don't know who's
I would
pitching for the Nationals, but it's Urias on the mound for the Dodgers.
Steven Matz tomorrow gets to
Yeah,
show a little bit. He was I think he threw like 6 innings of
he
like
was good. He was really good against
yeah.
Rangers. It'll come toppling down.
I would parlay Mets minus 1.5. I'm gonna take the Rays because I'm sick. Um,
I actually like that line for the Royals,
Royals I might take.
but I would take if I'm
I might
advising you.
just take plus 1.5.
I was gonna say I was gonna Royals plus 1.5 for that game,
And then
and then
I'm
I
gonna
and
throw
then
out
I would
fourth here.
I would pick your poison with the Brewers Cardinals because they're even line. Minus 108, take your 50-50 shot on one of those two teams.
I got plus 100 on the Brewers here.
See, I got minus 108 for both, but still. And then the rest.
That's bizarre. So the Brewers Cardinals are money line favorite, but they have Brewers minus 1.5 at plus 168, and they have Cardinals plus 1.5 at minus 205.
So they're expecting it to be a one-run game.
They're basically expecting a tie.
Well, no, they're expecting a one-run game either way because
Yeah,
plus 1.5 is a favorite, and minus 1.5 is
I would stay away from that game.
yeah, that feels a little complicated.
I think I might do Zach Davies. I'll be in Jersey tomorrow though, so I can put breaking
Well, you
news.
always
Yeah.
well, no, you're always in Jersey because we always bet
Right.
legally.
Yeah, yeah.
We
I'm
always bet
always in
legally.
Jersey.
Jesus
Yes.
Christ!
Yes.
If you ever want a sponsor that's anything with gambling, you need to
I go across state lines to bet.
Jesus Christ.
We can cut that from the record.
I mean, seriously, man.
Ouch. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's live. It's good. This is TV. It's just showbiz. Um, and then the biggest thing always, Sunday Night Baseball is actually a pretty good one this week.
I was
We have
just
the
gonna
Phillies.
finish my card, but okay, I'm
I'm
just
sorry.
gonna
Finish your card. No,
no,
finish your card.
I'm just gonna shut up.
I wanted to move on. I wanted to move on from from the gambling part. Sunday Night Baseball is
All
Phillies
right, so I have a
Braves,
14 parlay that'll be plus 915.
and
I will
you're gonna bet that where
in New Jersey,
on the FanDuel Sportsbook,
FanDuel Sportsbook.
which is legal in New Jersey. He will be betting it in New Jersey.
I will also be eating dinner tomorrow at Cubby's,
Oh,
which if you haven't been to
shout out
Cubby's,
Cubbies.
shout out Cubby's.
Also,
Hackensack. I will be getting a half rack of ribs.
wow. I mean,
It will be delicious.
technically, I did just react poorly to the whole you mentioning the gambling thing, but technically, didn't New York just actually pass it
Yes, but in
in the future?
2022.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
okay, back to yeah. So, um, yeah, that's the gambling talk with the On the Bump boys. Try to move past that one. No, but I feel like we've already mentioned. I feel like what portion of the population do you think still bets through a bookie? Not saying me or Todd do, but what portion still bets through a bookie?
I would say it's higher than we think.
I think it's higher than we think because I think there's a significant portion of people who are older that bet who just
Yes.
won't use an app. But I also think that
Also, a lot of states do not have legal betting.
yeah, I mean, how many states you can see it when you go to log into FanDuel? How many states do you have?
It's like,
10.
yeah.
New
Like, what
Jersey,
are the
and they're
other
all
40
spread out.
do?
It's just weird that like it's not legal in more states because it's a moneymaker.
I don't understand how it's not legal across the country, but
I I know like there's a lot of states that want the money from it, so they want to make it their own. Like New York for a while before they legalized it completely for 2022, they pushed hard at the fact that they wanted it to be through the lottery system, which would have gave them a significant percentage from it.
right.
Which never would have worked out, but
No.
Yeah, so I'm interested to see what 5 years from now what gambling looks like in the United States because I think if you can get enough people to use it through the apps, I think you then can regulate the issues that come with it. Not fully, like you're not going to sit there and say you can't bet more than 10, like not that, but there's ways to monitor someone's betting at that point. Now, I'm not saying they should or shouldn't or will, but it's a much better system than what it is now, which is going through a bookie. Shout out bookies out there. I'm not trying to
Shout out to all the bookies.
I'm not trying to stunt your
We
game.
well, we shout out
Yeah,
FanDuel and we shout out the bookies.
everybody. I'm not trying to kill anyone's business. But I just feel like that's a more um what's the word I'm looking for? Dangerous and destructive game than betting legally through an app. That's maybe what I feel on that topic. Yeah. So if we had any sponsors out there, we probably just lost them.
We'll be okay.
It'll be all right.
We'll survive.
We think we'll survive. So you have some history, Todd?
Do I have history?
I'm sure it's fun.
I don't know if I have history. Let's see.
Baseball history today.
Let's see if I have
Might be
anything.
something fun because we're close to opening day. So today in baseball history.
First game ever played at Fenway Park
Saw that. Yeah.
was today. Red Sox beat Harvard.
Oh,
3,000 fans showed up. So
I
shout
have
out Fenway Park.
I have a sad history here. Just
Ebbets
hours after,
Field also debuted today in 1913.
here's a sad one. Just hours after pitching a 6 shutout innings against the A's, Nick Aidenhart dies in a hit and run car
Ooh.
accident. 2009 Angels pitcher.
Well, that was that long ago.
Yeah, man. Wow, isn't that crazy?
It was 12 years ago. Jeez. We are old. But
The Yankees signed Joe Torre to a 3-year extension on this day in 2004, which
interesting.
he ended up going further than that. Anything else?
No, 1 year. He got a
2008?
2008. Yeah.
Not much, though. A lot of just like feats on the field. I mean, I don't. This is a weird one. On a frigid Sunday afternoon. Okay, I don't. The rest of it doesn't really matter. But there's a frigid Sunday afternoon, and they have it at 33 degrees. I feel like we can probably get colder than that. The Mets' first game for Gary Carter is not much here.
Fernando Valenzuela's first start in
Yep.
1981. Otherwise, nothing crazy.
Not much. R.I.P. Nick Aidenhart.
Debut of two big parks today, Fenway and Ebbets Field. I would have loved to have gone to Ebbets Field at some point.
Ebbets Field was New York, right? It was Mets?
Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Dodgers.
Well, it ended up being the Mets for a little bit, too.
I don't think so.
Maybe.
No.
Well, wasn't the Brooklyn Dodgers technically the Mets?
No. Brooklyn Dodgers were Dodgers.
I don't think you're right.
What are you talking about? You're making yourself look silly here. Brooklyn moved to LA. Yes.
The New York? No. One of the baseball teams, they replaced the Brooklyn Dodgers.
They replaced them in New York, but they aren't. The Brooklyn Dodgers packed up and moved to LA.
First of all, I don't know why you're talking to me like this. That's
you're
number one.
You're making this too complicated.
Okay, so the Mets weren't the Brooklyn Dodgers. I don't want you guys to scream.
What are you saying?
No, my phone's down. You're right. Mets aren't the Brooklyn Dodgers. But that's not that crazy of a statement. There's plenty of sports where a team name has traveled. Like The Braves
They
were the Milwaukee.
literally they moved, but they kept their name. They
But
moved.
the Milwaukee Braves, that has nothing to do with the Atlanta Braves. Milwaukee Braves became the Milwaukee Brewers.
They're the same
Atlanta
franchise.
became the Braves.
Their
Incorrect.
franchise history is they were also the Boston Braves at one point.
Correct.
That's all the same franchise. The Brooklyn Dodgers and the Mets are not the same franchise. Both franchises exist right now.
Listen, I looked it up. You're right. But you're also acting like it's the craziest thing that was ever said.
I'm a baseball historian. So
I mean, the Baltimore Colts.
I don't know.
I just think you're overreacting. But yeah, that's history with Toddy G, and that is episode 21 of the On the Bump podcast. Pretty good show
What
for
a
the first
show.
week
Yeah.
of baseball. Got some big topics.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week. There's also a possibility that, depending on work schedules, it could be recorded earlier in the week than usual.
We'll figure it
but
out. We're
we'll get
always
an episode out
flexible.
for you. All right,
Absolutely.
guys. Thank you.
Later.
Subscribe.
Enjoy the weekend.
Like, subscribe.
Great baseball. Oh, yeah.